All right, Kevin, back with you for another episode of the $1,000,000 Relationships Podcast. And today, I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be way cool, man. Cody, I'm stoked for this. And
Bro, same.
well, first of all, Cody, welcome, man. It is awesome to have you here today.
It's good to be here.
Yeah,
Come on, let's go.
And you and I spend a little bit of time talking before we hit this record button, and I just appreciate what you and I have set as the intention for this conversation today, and just this is going to be very impactful. So I want to start off, but I gotta give a shout out to Kyrie Oliver, and I interviewed Kyrie a while back for this podcast.
Okay.
I just totally love Kyrie. I love the way that guy shows up. I just love who Kyrie is and what he's all about, man. You know?
Dude, listen, if you close your eyes and don't listen to our voices and the way in which our tonality is, you think we're the same person. Then you open your eyes and like, wow, that's a very drastic difference. He's so tall. You're not. He's so dark. You're not. I get all those things. But yeah, he is a brother from another mother, and I love that guy. And
absolutely.
Yeah, he's great.
So Kyrie, thank you for your role in helping facilitate this conversation today, because we both really appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to do, Cody, is just start off by handing it over to you, and so we can set a little bit of context here and give you the opportunity to share a little bit about what you're working on right now, who you serve, what inspires you most about the work you're doing and the impact that you're making in this world. And we'll just start there.
Oh, man. Well, I'll tell you first and foremost, this isn't a rehearsed or premeditated conversation in this context. Man, what motivates me most is just being a dad. I have the most amazing son. I've got the most amazing stepson, bonus son, if you will. I have amazing, they're not even my kids. My son's sisters are amazing. And being able to set a standard for all of them, that's it. That's the game. I have an amazing wife who is friends with my son's mother and his bonus dad, and man, we get to live a really amazing, simple life here in Oklahoma. And the things that I'm most passionate about is helping good men become great, helping great men create movements inside of their organizations, and being able to create global impact for what matters.
Yeah.
And so we do that in a myriad of ways. I sit on the board and have holdings in 8 companies, should be 11 by the end of this month in 2 days. Very, very excited about all that. I'm a man of faith. I say I was in occupational ministry for 13 years. I say occupational because I'm still a pastor. I'm just not behind a pulpit anymore. But I believe that we are all in ministry if you live according to faith and whatever it is that you believe. And so, man, we get to impact change. We get to help good men become great. We get to help those men influence and impact their families and their communities and their schools. And that is what I'm most excited about. I love growing companies. I love growing men into great husbands and fathers and business owners and leaders and CEOs. I love the conversation of mergers and acquisitions. It is such a blessed life that I live, and I'm grateful every single day. Yeah,
absolutely. And I'll tell you, it's amazing. And we just, I've seen a lot of your story. I've read a lot of your story and stuff.
Yeah.
And I know, you and I, man, we've both been through some dark times, and man,
sure.
you went through that period in your life where you lost a lot of people close to you in a really short time,
I did.
And when that kind of stuff happens, it really, I think it opens a window for us to let us see into just to help us find out what is really most important to us.
Yeah.
And when we for one, figure that out, what do we really give a damn about? What is really important to us? And we then start getting those priorities in the right order and not just talking lip service to that shit, but get in alignment with what we say our priorities are.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, I mean, when we can just do that, when we can identify what our priorities are and then just be in alignment with that, I'm going to tell you, shit gets way easier. It gets a whole lot more enjoyable. It gets a whole lot more rewarding. And you know what I so appreciate about what you said? You're like, Kevin, I do not want this conversation today to turn into some lead generation thing and nothing. He's like, because that's not what's important to me. I want to use this conversation to impact people's lives. And when we come from that place, you know what? We just attract the good stuff to us, man, because people want. I mean, we hear that thing of it's not what we say, it's how we make people feel that they remember us by, and it is so true. When we just show up as our just us, complete with our faults and everything, complete with our dark times, complete with all the baggage that we've had, all the experience. When we just show up that way, that's what attracts people to us and stuff.
That's it.
And I'm just like so appreciative for just the way that you show up, and like you and I, this is the first conversation we've ever actually had with each other. But we got some pretty damn cool mutual friends, what makes it easy to connect first time, like we've known each other for years,
Yeah. And that, you know what, having been on, I think I've been on over 400 podcasts now, and they're all great, and they all serve a really distinct purpose towards a very distinct audience. But when you can, the power of relationship, even the relationship through proximity and knowing mutual friends and being able to share commonalities and where we've come from or where we've been or what we're working towards, it just makes things so much more serendipitous.
Yeah.
And meaningful, because we're on the same page and moving towards the same sort of impact.
Yes, absolutely. Well, now that we've set a little bit of context, I'm going to shift. I'm going to reiterate the question for the benefit of the listeners. And so, Cody, have you ever met or been introduced to a person or persons that completely changed the course of your life or your business, so much so that much of what you have today would not be possible if not for this person or persons? And Cody, I'm just like really excited to hear your story and your experience around this topic of relationships.
Man, okay. I can go so deep on this. So let me take you back a little bit.
Okay.
If I can. At 19, I was managing a garage. I was wrenching on cars. I was a certified mechanic and a certified motorcycle mechanic and tech. And I was in university, I was in college, and the owner of that garage invited me to church. And I was like, nah, man, I grew up in church. I'm good. I appreciate it though. I appreciate it. He said, well, come get coffee with me. I said, all right, let's do that. And we went to coffee, and the coffee happened to be inside of a mega church. I didn't even know these existed. I grew up in a small Southern Baptist church in Oklahoma.
Okay.
And the pastor came out. This dude had like surfer blonde hair, rode a Harley, had been kicked out of schools, had this whole story. And I'm like, all right, well, hold on. And maybe I can get with this. This guy speaks my language. And he took me under his wing that day. And within a matter of weeks, because I was a musician through high school, my undergrad's in music and performance, which is why I got all these guitars behind me if you're watching. And he shared so much insight to me on how to communicate effectively. I mean, I got put on stage at 19, way before I was ever ready, or before I had no business being on a church stage teaching people about Jesus. But he saw something in me that qualified me and really helped to shed light on, the idea of not calling the equipped, but equipping the called. And I didn't know it at the time. I couldn't see it. For so many, you don't see the grace and the opportunity in front of you at the time. You just kind of walk through the motions. But he introduced me to a life of leadership and leading people that I will forever be grateful for. His name's Eastman Curtis. And I would not be where I'm at without him and without his belief in me.
Okay. Okay.
Fast forward, I step out of occupational ministry in 2017. And I say occupational because I believe that if you are someone who is of faith, like I am, I don't hide it. I'm not quiet about it.
Yep.
That everybody's in ministry. I'm just not an occupational ministry because I'm not paid by the church.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this call I felt to equip men, and it was like really messy at first. It was just like to help good men take guns out of their mouths, which was like really weird out on a t-shirt. So I had to change that marketing strategy. It just wasn't really applicable from an ads perspective. Like, it's not really good to talk about from stage. But I was introduced, a guy named Mark Lack.
Okay.
Started messaging me online, telling me some things I could do different. In late 2016, I started sharing more of my story. You know, I was in ministry in late 2015. I went through a divorce. No good scandal. Sorry. No good story for you. I was just addicted to working. And I didn't know where my job stopped and God started, and God stopped and my job started. And so I just couldn't shut it off. And I had a 1-year-old and went through a divorce. And in the midst of that, I had 8 family members and friends that passed away. You know, I had an 18-month-old niece that passed away. She was, her life was taken, worst case of sexual assault to a minor on Oklahoma record. I had a 19-year-old sister that was strangled to death. I had a sister-in-law that took her own life. I had a best friend that took his own life. Like, it's just a lot. And I started sharing all of that and started sharing why I stepped out of occupational ministry and into, you know, leadership development across the platforms of entrepreneurship and business and ministry to help good men take control of their lives. And Mark started seeing what I was sharing and started messaging me and giving me pointers and insights. Cause listen, I was throwing paint on the broadside of a barn, just hoping it stuck. I had no idea what I was doing. And he started giving me insights. And it got to the point where I was like, man, okay, this guy knows something, because everything he's telling me is working. So I asked him, like, what's it going to run me to spend a day with you? And so he told me, and I said, all right, cool. I'll fly out to Irvine, California, and I'll spend a day with you. That day turned into us hitting it off in a way that I would not have expected. And because we have a similar faith, a similar heart for people. And I ended up staying with him and his wife, Jenna, for a week.
Wow.
She was like, I don't know this guy. He's covered in tattoos. We've not done this before. We share about this. And, you know, but man, inside of that week, I met Dan Fleischman, Bradley, Wiz Khalifa, Chase Hira. I met all these people that have become such great friends, but have also put me on so many stages and helped open so many doors. And it was all because we shared such a heart for people. You fast forward a year from there, and I'm speaking I'm opening and keynoting an event in Phoenix, Arizona in early 2018. And I'm there with a gentleman named Keith Yackey, and we are keynoting together. We just hit it off. And he has some frameworks and some way and a team that can build funnels. And I don't even know how to do that. And I'm like, all right, cool. What do I got to do to spend a day with you? So he told me, same story. I ended up staying with him and his wife, and it ended up being like 5 days. And
There's this theme emerging, Cody.
There's this theme. And man, we just and we hit it off, and we become like, Keith's one of my best friends now. And they're like, and I've told him I love you close to 40,000 times over that year with dollar bills. So I wasn't afraid to invest in myself and invest in his help. And because of those relationships, I've been put on more stages and I've created more relationships. We talk about Garrett White. Garrett and I became friends because of Keith, because we went surfing together. I've been introduced to so many people through Keith and so many people through Mark. And those two, my current mentor now, Dan Martell, is one of Keith's best friends. And we got introduced through Keith. The power of relationship and the power of proximity is so undervalued. We invest in conferences and masterminds, and you want to get around the right people in the right environment, which is absolutely true. You absolutely want to do that. But I think one of the mistakes that we make is trying to know everyone and share our story and our big 30,000 foot view dream with everyone. When if you could go into an opportunity with a there you are frame instead of a here I am, and you could go in and you could look for 3 to 4 people. I was keynoting in an event with Dan Clark, who co-authored Chicken Soup for the Soul, and he said, one of the most impactful things I've ever heard is you saying, look for the 2 or 3, not to know everyone, but to know the 2 or 3 that could help you move the needle forward strategically. And that was such a shift for me, because as a pastor, my whole frame anywhere I go and anything that I do is always to know everyone. I want to know your story. I want to know why you're here. I don't ever sit at VIP tables. I don't do that. Like, if I'm speaking, if I'm keynoting, if I'm emceeing, whatever I'm doing, I'm going to be with the people. Because I know from being a pastor, from being a worship pastor, from being a youth pastor, man, when you go sit with people, it just, they feel on top of the world because you're the guy on the poster.
Yeah.
And so I want to know your story. I want to know everything about you. And, I've built everything that I have. This will be interesting for your listeners. 0 ads. I built everything on relationship. I built everything on, we are a culture that is so desperate to be known, but we will settle every day for being seen.
Yes. Yeah.
And if I can help someone be known, if I can hear their story and help them move the needle forward, as so many have helped me move the needle forward, then that's the gift. Yeah. And as a result of that, man, I've made incredible, amazing friendships, connections, people that have helped move the needle forward in my personal, professional, spiritual, physical life. It's amazing when I'm 1 degree of separation away from who, my son and my stepson think are the most amazing humans ever, and being able to, hey, get a phone call and a FaceTime. Like, my son is, man, he's a wrestler, and my stepson does jujitsu. And so they are big Mikey Chandler fans and Jordan Burroughs fans. And, to have Jordan's number and have Mikey's number and be able to call them and FaceTime them when we have events or we have matches or tournaments, and be able to get a little word of encouragement. Like, relationships are the rocket fuel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not just for me, but for the people that I love.
Yeah.
And to show my kids what's possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what a gift, man. What a gift,
Yeah. I mean, for sure. And what you just shared is such a testament to the power of relationships. And, coming into, there's so much you shared there, Cody. I joined my very first mastermind group ever with Joe Polish back in 1997 for the cleaning restoration.
Yeah.
And not a year has gone by where I have not invested in being in mastermind groups, because you put yourself in the right place and
That's
you're going
it.
to meet the right people.
That's it.
Like what you said, I see so many people, in a situation like that, in a mastermind or in a networking situation where, like like you alluded to, they feel, because it's a finite event. It's a finite period. It's going to be hosted for whatever amount of time, and then so they're trying to make hay while the sun's shining and connect with as many people
Yeah.
as I possibly. I gotta get my money's worth out of being here.
Oh yeah.
And versus if they're just like, set the intention, you know what? I'm going to connect with one or two or three people over the course of this couple of days.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make a meaningful
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah.
Man, that is so, well, for one, it takes a doggone weight off your shoulders of
Totally.
having to
Because
do
listen,
all that.
dude, when you can go into an event and you go into an opportunity and say, I'm just going to give, I'm going to serve.
Yes.
And here's a little secret for all of you. Everybody wants to be known. Everybody is in that room for the same reason that you are. They're looking for a solution to a problem that they have. And this has been the place that they have decided to invest their time and their resources. And it does not matter if you are the expert or not, simply by being available and listening.
Yes.
So for me, if I can go into an opportunity and I can be that support for everyone, as many people as I can, but then be strategic on who I would like to extract value from. Because you need to qualify the criticism. Because if you live for everybody's praise, you will die by everybody's criticism. So I qualify. I already know, pre-framed, who I want to interact with and what I want to ask them. Outside of that, I just want to give to everyone. Why? It will return in dividends when you have nothing to gain outside of helping people move forward. You get to be known as a giver. There's a book called Go Giver that
Yes.
we've given away thousands of copies of over the past 20 years. And Bob has become a really great friend, which is just so serendipitous. But I will tell you, if you can give to the majority and ask from the few, you will move forward faster, and you will be known as a connector. You'll be known as somebody. I think about the story again. I'm not in the pulpit, but you can't take the pastor out of me. I think about the story of the woman at the well, where she runs back after Jesus starts telling her all the things about her, but without any judgment. And she says, "Come meet the man who knew everything about me. But man, he still loved me. He still believed in the plan that God had for me and has for me." And if I can be that for people, not as an expectation to live from or an expectation to live up to, but a grace that I get to live through and I get to pass that on to people. I mean, what else is success?
Yeah.
Was it Zig Ziglar? Is it? It could be. It might be somebody else. You help enough people,
That's
and
Zig.
you never have to worry about money, right?
Yeah. Yep. You help enough other people get what they want, and you get what you want too. Yeah.
There it is. That's it.
Yeah. And man, you mentioned the Go Giver. I think I first read Bedros Killian is who gave me a copy of that book like 12 years ago, and that
Bro,
book was a game changer for me.
you want to hear a funny story? So my son's mom gave me that book when we first got married.
Wow.
And I didn't appreciate it at the time. And later, as I got into leadership and like real leadership at scale, it all started to make sense. I read it, and it was good. But you kind of take it at face value, because when I'm reading so many leadership books in the church, because that's what you do, the church became very leadership centric in the mid 2000s. So I'm reading books by, I'm reading The Go Giver. I'm reading books by Andy Stanley. I'm reading books by John Maxwell. I'm reading all these books. And then COVID happened and Clubhouse happened. And I got connected to Bob Berg. And we were in a room together. I said, you know what? I've given away about 2,500 of your books. Isn't that crazy? He's like, are you kidding? I'm like, no, I'm not. And it's weird that we're just here in a room together. And he texted me. And so, we're friends, like we text me.
Yep.
He's like, what can I do? I'm like, could you sign a book for my son's mom?
That's awesome.
He's like,
That's
really? I'm like, I wouldn't, I don't know that I'd be here in this conversation if she hadn't given me a book. And so a really great gift that I was able to give her was a signed copy of that book, And so relationships, man.
Yeah. And I am sure you have countless stories like that.
Oh,
And
yeah.
just because, and I'll tell you, I mean, yeah, I've had the pleasure of meeting Bob, and in fact I got to interview Bob for the podcast
Wow.
here and stuff, and
Awesome.
when we treat people, what you talked about, when you say, okay, I'm just going to try to help as many people as I can. I'm gonna pour into as many as I possibly can, but I'm only going to ask. I'm going to surgically ask from specific people, but this thing of just pouring into and just having a conversation with someone, and people always ask me, well, Kev, how do I have conversations? How do I have conversations with other entrepreneurs? And they want to know. I mean, you know what? All you got to do is ask an entrepreneur a question. You know what? What are you working on right now, Cody, that's most got you fired up? You're going to get an entrepreneur talking. That's all you got to do is ask them a question like that. And then, you know what? Now, here's the thing is like, people want to be all strategic and tactical about this stuff. You know what? All you got to do is when you ask a question of an entrepreneur and they start talking and sharing, shut up and listen to them. And don't be in the back of your head thinking about what's the next thing I'm going to say. Listen to them. Be actively engaged and listen. And then ask questions based on what they share with you. And not because you're strategical or tactical, but because you genuinely care about them as a person and you want to know more about what they're working on. And you just do that. And we end up giving people this gift that they so seldom get, which is this gift of feeling seen, heard, and understood. Because like you said, that's what they're all there for. They all want to be seen. They all want to be heard. They all want to feel understood. And when we give them that gift, now they just want to know. Well, man,
right, because not everybody's going to be a mentor, and not everybody's going to be someone that you're going to extract information from, but everyone can be a fan.
Yeah.
And everyone can move your message forward.
Yeah.
And what I've learned is the more that I can strategically give value to people, which is, listen, in this space, I could throw up with some of the BS that we talk about, like, well, just give value. Like, what does that even mean? But when you can hear where someone's at, and if you can help to solve a problem that they have, you automatically become an expert to them. And they automatically want to reciprocate that, because when you give someone something, especially when there's no felt reciprocation request, there's a desire to reciprocate that which is given. And so someone said, man, what can I do? How can I? I'm like, this is useful, man. Just make a post saying it was useful and tag me in it, and I'll share it. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Very little things. Actually, you know what? I'm not sure right now, but let's get linked up. Let's get connected.
Yep.
And I am sure that there will be a way that we can make this mutual. I'm sure of it. I don't know right now, but I'm sure that we can. So let's stay connected. Let's stay linked up. And if there's anything you need in the meantime, man, do not be afraid to reach out to me. I know I do a lot of cool stuff, and I know I'm pretty popular on the internet, but at the end of the day, man, I'm a dad just like you, and I live in Oklahoma, And, you know, I live a fairly simple life. I just, again, I get to do a few different things at a higher capacity than some. But if I can continue to serve you in any way, man, you just let me know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And mean it. And it's not BS lip service. If you actually mean it,
Yeah.
people and be you. Listen, I got a lot of friends in this space who yell a lot, who use a lot of profanity, who are very hard framed. Like, and I get told, well, not anymore, but early on, you should do this and you should act more like this person. You know, this person, you should act more like them. I'm like, one, I'm happy. Two, I make way too much money. Three, I know how all this ends because I have faith in how it ends. Why do I want to be mad and angry and yell at adults? Like, I'm not anybody's parent, and I'm not trying to heal that parent wound. If your dad yelled at you, you don't need me to yell at you to heal that. You don't need to hang all of your toxic traits around your neck with, you know, cardboard and rope. You don't need me to blindfold you and throw you in the ocean. You don't need to do any of those things. And if you do, I'm not your guy. So recognize where your strengths are, recognize what makes sense for you, right? Like, again, I'm not marketing to guys who are doing, you know, below in Vegas on a 5-day bender. That's not my jam.
Yeah.
You know, there are other guys who market to that. I'm not marketing to you if you've been in prison 25 years and just getting out. I don't speak that language. I've never been there. There are other guys who are far more equipped to talk to you in the ways that are meaningful to you.
Yeah.
So recognizing also where your skill sets are and how that's going to navigate and gravitate towards certain people and how it'll repel others. And that's okay. You don't need to be a savior to everyone. You don't need to be a savior to anyone. But what you can do is be an objective ear, an objective mouthpiece towards the things that you are an expert in.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know, if we look at, I mean, you've mentioned a few people, and I didn't catch the name of that pastor, the first name of that pastor when you were 19. What was
Eastman? Eastman Curtis.
Eastman Curtis. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And
he's out in Florida now.
Okay.
He is out in Florida.
So you mentioned Eastman, you mentioned Mark, and you briefly talked about, Keith and Garrett and stuff. And so I just want, because this is really gonna like just open this up, this one question. So if you look at some of these relationships that you've talked about, and you've already alluded a little bit to this, but I just want to focus on this for a couple minutes. If you look at these relationships that you've mentioned here, and where these, I want you to think of one experience, one instance where it empowered you to make a really large impact, and hands down, that would have never happened if not for your relationship with whoever that was.
I'm in a hot tub with Keith at his house in 2021 for my birthday, and my son is with us because my son travels with me everywhere. My son is obsessed with Keith and Jess and loves them. And he and Jovi, their daughter, are best friends, and it's great. And he looked at me, we're in the hot tub and we're talking about what we're working on, everything else. And he's like, man, I wouldn't follow you into war. I wouldn't follow you into battle. Why? And he lays it out for me. He said, would you follow me? And I said, no. And I laid out why. And the next year was us working on rectifying those deficiencies to become men that across all platforms we would follow each other into any battle that was necessary. And that conversation pushed me past any propensity of fear that I had, of judgment, of frustration, of failure. And over the past 2.5 years, everything has changed, and it would not have changed if not for that conversation. Mm-hmm. In a hot tub at Keith's house.
Wow.
In Cali.
Yeah.
Dana Point.
And, and because of that, it's all the lives that have been impacted. You know, the front line lives of
Sure.
the people that you and Keith both directly serve, you know.
Yes.
But beyond that,
Yeah.
those people have spouses. Those
Sure.
people have children. Those people have businesses with team members, with vendors, with clients that those businesses serve. And when we really start to look at that picture,
Yeah.
all because of this conversation in a hot tub with you and
That's
Keith,
it.
and what
That's
has
it.
come from that, and see, and that's the kind of picture I just love looking at, because you know, the ripple effect of that conversation and what came from that will never truly be known, but it's millions of people's lives because
Mhm.
of that conversation and what came after it and stuff.
Yeah.
And so,
Absolutely.
well, Cody, so I know you explicitly told me, Kev, I do not want to turn this into any lead gen. I don't want this to be any kind of lead gen piece or anything like that. But I just want to, you know, it wouldn't be right for anybody. I mean, they could probably go do some Google search for you and whatever, and they're
Yeah.
going to find you. They'll track you down if
Easy
they
to
want.
find.
But I do want to just, you know, open it up for any last thing that you feel compelled to share before we just call it a wrap here today and stuff.
Be mindful. You know, not our relationships are created equal, and not everybody that, you know, flaunts gold on the internet glitters the same way behind closed doors. I've been very fortunate to know a lot of people in a myriad of verticals and industries, and you know, relationships are rocket fuel,
Yes.
and relationships can move you forward at a trajectory that you could never move forward by yourself.
Yep.
Also, relationships can be incredibly toxic and detrimental, and they can pull you back, and they can hold you back, and they can thwart any growth and momentum that you've had. Not everyone wants to see you move forward. Not everyone wants to see you successful. Some people want your money. Some people want your attention. Some people want your accolade and praise. Some people want your soul. And making sure that you do the due diligence of knowing who you are, what it is that you want out of this life, who it is that it is going to require you to become, and doing your homework on who can actually help you get there.
Yeah.
And who will champion you in the high seasons and in the low, who will hold you accountable to being the man or woman that you said that you would be, not just for you, but for your spouse, for your co-parent, for your kids, for your employees, for the people that are around you, for the people that are counting on you to show up in a capacity to lead them. For as much as we could talk about the relationships that have helped move me forward, we could also flip that and talk about the relationships that have helped to destroy me or would have liked to have destroyed me. And if not for those healthy relationships and the relationship that I have with myself and my spiritual beliefs, it would have taken me out. Be mindful. I don't care how many followers somebody has. I don't care the accolades that somebody has. I don't care what somebody drives. I don't care how fancy their lifestyle seems. Look to the fruit. Look to the fruit of what someone produces, not just in business, but in their family lives and their spiritual lives and their physical lives, in every area, and discern that well. The men that I look to guide me, most of them are in their 60s, and most of them are in venture capital, or they're in SaaS, and they have amazing families. They have amazing spiritual direction. They are very conservative. They're not famous on the internet. And that's meaningful to me. I want to know how you've built generational wealth while keeping your spirituality and your faith and your family and your physical health and your emotional well-being together. I don't care how loud you are and how much profanity you use and how many sports cars you have and what the square footage of your house is. If you're empty on the inside, or if on the backside of that, you're losing money in the conversation of business because you're trying to keep up with a lifestyle that is outside of your means these days.
Mhm.
So understand that not all that glitters is gold. And, I exist in the capacity that I do to help good men become great in the ways that are most meaningful to men like me. Being better husbands, being better fathers, being better co-parents, being more effective and efficient men of impact, and creating wealth. Because anybody who tells you that, oh, money doesn't solve problems, they're broke. Don't listen to them. Money solves 99.9% of problems. Like, legitimately, it does. Like, I don't care it does. It just means you have to answer a different set of questions. And so finding the people who can help you answer those questions while you answer the questions of scaling business and lifestyle, while maximizing impact for something greater than yourself and a legacy that lives on past you.
Yeah.
Seek that if that's meaningful to you.
Yeah.
If you just want Lambos and big houses and to flex on the internet, well, man, you a dime a dozen, you can find them.
Yep.
And good luck. I don't know if they have the strategies and the tactics to tell you how they've done other than selling people like you into an idea of a dream.
Mhm.
But if you're looking to the brass tacks of how to navigate life and business, those are conversations I'm interested in.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, Cody, I want to thank you for taking the time to have this conversation. I am really excited to share this interview and because
Yeah.
I know how impactful this is going to be for anybody who gets the opportunity to listen in on what we just talked about today.
Well, and I want you to tell me after this, message me or whatever we need to do, who I can connect you with that would be meaningful for what you're doing. Because I
Absolutely.
believe we're always paying it forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Cody, thank you again. Really appreciate you, man. And you have a great rest of your day.
Yes, sir. You as well.